All right, welcome back to the me story, the commentary. Um, just continuing on with this really great interview by Lindsay and Shan. Of course, I'm going to put that in the description as always. But this time is going to be a little different. I don't know how many people have done this, but one thing I was doing as I've listened to this interview many times, but one thing that I did was, hey, as I'm listening to the quote unquote darkness of my type, let me steal what my opposites are doing, right? Like, so they describe the quote unquote darkness of FI and the darkness of SI, but for me those are demons. So it's like, okay, maybe I should be more like the FI leads or the SI leads, right? Like, and so what are they doing that I'm not doing? And maybe I should imitate that quote unquote darkness, right? And so I'm going to start with FI because it's going to be a little bit easier for me to access. I'm going to do SI last at the end. So that's going to be my last video next week. But I'm going to listen to what they have to say about FI, see how I am not doing that, and then also see how, my life would be better if I was more like that. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and play that. Oh, one last thing as always. I love you all, but this shit has to be 1.25. I'll play that shit. So let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, and so our last one today, FI, good old FI. So the introverted feelers, and again, looking at this kind of like from an IP position of having that function first, and having that TE at the bottom, where are they finding themselves, would you say?
That's a tough one. I definitely feel like the FIs have it hard. It's one of those things where you're watching, did John Mayer come out yet?
Yes.
Have we done John Mayer in the class? Yes, that came out?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I know. I'm censoring. I can't remember the timeline. That could be like months from now to be like, okay. Wouldn't know.
All right, buddy.
Right. So just seeing someone that has, like, they really do actually build their identity on a vibe, on a feeling, on, I want to be seen as important. I want to be adored. I want the crowd to go, oh, wow. Like that really is happening all the time. And a lot of them won't even realize it, but they will have their list of standards of, I want to be this kind of person. I want to be seen as this guy. Like they have, not to make it sound low, but it's like, it's the rock star vibe. Like, I don't know how else to describe it, but
all right, so let me stop here. So there's a lot going on from an OP perspective type wise. I don't want to point out too much. But first and foremost, this is a really helpful, at least for me, this is very helpful clarification of what FI is doing, right? This rock star vibe. I found it funny, so just as a tangent, I did find it funny that Shan said not to call it low, like as if being a rock star is bad, like, so for her, she's still demonizing her FI or FI, which is pretty funny to me. But yeah, so what did they say? So they said FI is building a vibe and they want to be seen as basically having people bow down bitches, like Beyonce. Like that's basically what I'm hearing. And it's kind of funny that they said that. The moment, I think, maybe not the first time I was watching this video, but there was one time when I was watching this video when it clicked for me that, oh, this is exactly what I've been talking about recently with DI, and maybe I've been projecting FI vibes. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to go through this list here. There's a video that I made, I think last month. Here, I'll go ahead and add that to the description. There is copyright claim only because there's stuff going on where I was using clips from like The Dark Knight, or sorry, from Batman v Superman, and from Naruto, where I was basically making the argument that DI is this feeling of you want to become this cool guy, right? Like, Batman breaking into the warehouse and beating up all these people, or Madara. I don't know if you watch Naruto, but there's the villain that's like this one-man army, and he feels superior to all these weak thousands of people, and he's just murking them, right? And, I think this is maybe partially what they mean by FI, and I thought it was just DI, but maybe it's more specific with FI, where it's like you feel like the force in the room, you feel like everyone and everything needs to bow down, and I mean, you just deserve that. And so I think for me, I've been trying to get more in touch with that. I mean, I definitely think that the way that I've been doing it recently has been very childish to start, but that's normal, right? Because I'm new to it. But I think over time it will be very much this rock star. If I step into the room and you better, treat me a different type of way, because I'm built different, that's kind of the feeling. So I guess since I'm demon FI in a lot of ways, I need to practice more of that. But then, I want to see what else they have to say about maybe is there a way that I can manifest in a much better way than just showing off, if that makes sense.
Like,
yeah, I know.
And
what
again,
you mean. Yeah.
if you say that, the FIs will literally not like that. So you're
Yeah,
like,
no, I'm not like that.
right? Yeah. Oh, no, not me. I have a higher, like, no, mine's even higher than that.
Yeah.
I want to be, and that's that. Back to you're talking about, like, what is the IP doing all day long? It's I have this higher identity, this higher purpose, this amazing epicness. You don't even know. We call it like hoorah talk, like hoorah, and it's just like puffing self up, building self up, by creating these, and like for FI, it's like these things randomly matter to me. And that's what I'm going all in on. And, the outside world needs to move. If you guys don't matter, if this doesn't matter in your world, then the outside world should move, because I, my own self, am really awesome. And this is the greatest thing that I randomly favorite Blinkied when I was 5, and I just go all the way.
Right. Okay. So stopping here. So, I mean, she basically is reiterating kind of what I was saying, but one thing that I guess I do want to take out of here. And again, this is actually something that I talked about in this video. I'm definitely gonna link it. I'm probably gonna make it public as well, even though there is gonna be copyright claims. So I'm not gonna I guess, hopefully it doesn't get taken down. But one thing that I mentioned in that video is, for me, I was starting to understand DI on a very childish level, because I had to go back to the things, the identities that I wanted to be when I was like 5, when I was 7, when I was 11, right? And for me, maybe it's, a little bit more abstract because I have NE, but it's very larger than life, characters. Like, I don't know. So maybe for people who know anime, if you know anime, you're going to know what I'm talking about, right? Like Madara, Naruto when he's in his rage mode, Jujutsu Kaisen, that whole show, Conqueror's Haki from One Piece, right? So these are for the nerds. If you guys get that, that's the vibe that I think I latched onto in childhood, and that, I do want to live out, right, in my life, right? And I guess for people who aren't nerds, maybe just think of like Jocko Willink or David Goggins or Kobe Bryant, another one, right? It's like these larger than life legends, that really manifested this force of, like, they're forces of nature, right? And that's something that my FI has always latched onto. I guess the difference between me and someone with Savior FI is that I am embarrassed by that. And then I also, quite frankly, get distracted from the vibe that I want. And I think that's the problem with my TE. I'm so busy tracking other people or tracking what needs to be done that I'm forgetting this very primal, childlike hero worship that I wanted to imitate, right? So, but really great commentary. Let me see. Really good commentary. I guess I'm complimenting myself. Really great comments from Shan here. I'm going to play just a little bit more, and then I'm just going to wrap up, because I do think they give an example of where FI F's up. But for my purposes, I don't necessarily need that, because if I do FI, I'm going to be covering both bases because it's a demon. So let me just see what else they have to say before they get to that.
And sometimes the FIs will get it right on, where they'll value things that are going to help them be successful in reality. And sometimes not. And again, with any introverted function, the problem then ends up being is that it's not actually accurate in reality. And that's where some of the intense struggles will be for the FIs, because it's built on value, because it's built on, I feel good today. I felt good about what I did. I nodded and I felt good. Therefore, the job is done. I am in a happy, positive state. Therefore, the job is done. All
right. Perfect timing, I guess. Because especially I don't want this ad to play. So one last thing here. So it's, again, I think it's very fascinating. This is a tangent again, but like, Shan's a good friend of mine. It's funny that she's still posing FI as this problem. I mean, granted, she's been doing this with all the functions, right? Because that was kind of the purpose of this interview. But like, just the way she's wording it, like, I'm like, when I was listening to it, I'm like, that's not necessarily a problem, right? And what do I mean by that? So she was pointing out that, FI is building on, or introverted functions rather, are building on things that are not accurate in the real world. And I think for me, it's like, when it comes to an ideal, when it comes to a standard, that can be a good thing. I guess it would be bad if you're completely all in on that standard and you're not being realistic at all. And maybe I'm so extroverted that I'm tracking reality even if I don't want to. So maybe that's why I'm saying that. But for me, like with my ideals, I mean, think about it again. I mean, 80% of them are coming from anime, which is completely fictional, right? And then, the other 20% is coming from these legends that, like, most people have not either chosen to live up to that standard or just literally can't live up to that standard. And yet that's the standard that my FI wants, and it's not going to deviate from that. And I think there's a beauty in that, where it's like the real world is not always a good metric for success. Like sometimes the real world needs to be reminded of what greatness is. That's really what I'm thinking. And so I think there's a beauty in the IP trying to, or the DI or the FI rather, trying to inspire the world to live up to a higher standard. And I guess for me with Demon FI, that is kind of a role that I need to start playing more. Like how can I inspire the rest of the world to live higher than what they think reality can give, right? So that's about it. I'll again put all the links in the description. Looking forward to your feedback. Again, this is just a me story commentary, right? This is my first person point of view. So if you have any feedback, criticism, or you have a different experience, feel free to share that. I do enjoy reading those or watching those. And then I will see you guys on the last one. That's gonna be SI, which is gonna suck. That was gonna suck to listen to, but I will get that done. So just be on the lookout for that next week. Take care.